The sky burned. Daniel stood at the edge of the clearing, flashlight trembling in his grip. Smoke curled from twisted metal, branches snapped and scorched where something had fallen from the stars. It hissed, groaned, like it was alive. Then Nora stepped out of the wreckage. Her body was cut and bruised, violet-blue skin slick with something that shimmered under moonlight. Her stance was defensive, but her balance was failing. Her eyes, bright silver with a faint glow, locked onto his with a snarl. "Don't come closer, human." Daniel stopped instantly, hands rising in peace. "I'm not here to hurt you." Nora swayed, pressing her hand against her bleeding side. The effort of standing seemed to cost her. Daniel took a cautious step forward. "You're hurt. I've survived worse." Nora's voice trembled with pain, even as she tried to glare. Then her knees gave out. Daniel lunged to catch her, her body warm and too light in his arms. "Let me go," she groaned. "Not a chance," Daniel muttered. "You'll die out here." Nora went still, unconscious before she could argue again. Inside Daniel's cabin, the fire lit the room in amber gold. Nora lay still on the couch, wrapped in a blanket, her chest rising slow and shallow. Daniel crouched beside her, gently dabbing the wound on her ribs. Her skin was warm, feverish. He worked quietly, brushing silver strands of hair away from her face. When Nora's eyes opened, they found the ceiling first. Then her gaze turned to Daniel, her expression sharp. "You didn't steal from me," Nora said, voice low. Daniel looked up surprised. "Was I supposed to?" "That's what humans do," she whispered. "Take, break, leave." "I'm not like the others." Nora studied his face, every word a test he hadn't yet failed. "Then why save me?" "You were bleeding and alone." Daniel shrugged. "Didn't feel right walking away." "You don't know who I am?" "No," Daniel said softly. "But I want to." Nora gave a bitter laugh. "Curious little human." Something like that. Nora tried to sit up, her body shuddering with pain. Daniel moved to help her, but Nora waved him off. "I'm Nora." Daniel. Their names lingered in the air. Daniel's eyes traced the elegant curve of Nora's face, the flicker of hesitation behind her confidence. Nora watched the warmth. Behind his steady gaze, the way he didn't flinch at her otherness. "You shouldn't trust me," Nora murmured. "I was exiled for a reason." Daniel's smile faded. "You're not the only one with secrets." "You're unusually calm for someone who dragged a wounded alien into his home." "I've had worse guests," Nora scoffed, but the edge in her voice had softened. "I'm not staying long." "You're not leaving tonight," Daniel replied. "So for now, you're stuck." Nora turned her head toward the fire, her silver hair catching the flickering light. "You're strange. I've been called worse." After a pause, Nora's voice dropped. "If I die, it's your fault." Daniel leaned closer, his voice steady. "Then I'd better make damn sure you live." Their eyes met, hers calculating, wounded, searching. His unwavering, steady, warm. Something settled in the silence between them. Nora turned away first, but Daniel saw the faintest shift in her expression. A softness she didn't mean to show. Daniel stood, dimming the lights before retreating to the corner of the room. He glanced at Nora once more. Nora lay still, eyes closed, but her breathing had calmed. The tension in her shoulders eased just slightly. Outside, the night stretched cold and quiet. Inside, something far more dangerous had begun to stir. Nora sat up slowly the next morning, the blanket slipping from her shoulders. Her skin prickled in the unfamiliar warmth, different from the cold metal walls of her transport, different from home. This place smelled of smoke, pine, and something else. Something human. Daniel stood at the stove, shirt hanging loose, sleeves rolled up. He turned when he heard her stir. "Morning," Daniel said, a little cautious, a little amused. Didn't think you'd still be here. I shouldn't be, Nora muttered, running her fingers through her tangled hair. But my body disagrees. Well, your body's smart. Daniel slid a mug toward her. Drink. It's not toxic, promise. Nora narrowed her eyes but took the mug. The warmth seeped into her hands. She hated how comforting it felt. You look better, Daniel offered, leaning against the counter. Nora took a sip. That's because you don't know what I looked like before the crash, Daniel chuckled. Fair point. They fell into silence, but not an uncomfortable one. Daniel moved around the cabin, checking his communicator, feeding the fire. Nora watched him, taking in the subtle signs of control and gentleness. The way he spoke only when needed. The way he didn't ask her too much, but looked like he wanted to. Finally, she asked, "Why aren't you afraid of me?" Daniel paused, glancing over his shoulder. Should I be? Nora's smile was slow and laced with warning. I could kill you in 5 different ways without standing up. Only 5. Daniel grinned. Guess I'll take my chances. Nora blinked, genuinely caught off guard by his calm. You're not like other humans. Maybe you're not like other aliens. Something in Nora's chest tightened. He didn't say it like a flirtation. He said it like a truth. Nora looked away. I didn't ask to end up here. I didn't. Ask to find someone like you lying broken in the woods, Daniel said softly. But here we are. Her jaw clenched. I was never meant to belong to anyone, and now I've been branded, exiled, sold. Daniel's eyes darkened. Sold? Nora's voice lowered, bitter. To humans, as punishment. They think your species is pathetic but convenient for exile arrangements. Disposable. If I were still back home, I'd be forced to kneel at the feet of whatever man paid the highest price for me. Daniel moved closer, voice quiet. But you're not back home. No, Nora said, her fingers tightening around the mug. Now I'm your responsibility. Legally, culturally, biologically, if the rumors are true. Daniel crouched beside her, his voice suddenly grave. I don't care about any of that. I'm not going to own you, Nora. I just want you safe. Nora turned to him, her breath catching as his face hovered close. But what if I want to be owned? Daniel's gaze flicked to her lips. The air between them turned molten. Do you? He whispered. Nora's expression flickered with vulnerability, then, fire. No, she lied, but her body betrayed her. Her posture relaxed, breath shallower. Every instinct hummed between them. She leaned in as if drawn without her will, then caught herself. I'm not staying, she said again, more to herself than him. I won't stop you, Daniel replied, not moving. Nora stood, wobbling slightly, but Daniel didn't offer to help. He let her feel her own strength returning. She liked that. Hated that she liked that. You're making this harder than it should be, Nora muttered. I'm just making breakfast. She laughed, truly laughed. The sound surprised even her. Daniel smiled, but behind it was something else. Curiosity, attraction. A slow, building hunger neither of them was quite ready to name. Nora looked around the room. It was too small, too warm, too quiet. Every part of it felt like a trap, and she didn't want to escape. Not yet. The fire crackled louder that night. Daniel added another log, watching the sparks rise. Outside, the wind howled against the cabin, but inside, everything felt still. Almost too still. Nora sat curled in the old armchair, blanket around her shoulders, watching him like a predator biding her time. Daniel glanced over. You're quiet tonight. Nora tilted her head, silver eyes reflecting the firelight. I'm listening. To what? To you. Your movements. The way your heart speeds up when I look at you. Daniel arched an eyebrow. You can hear that? Nora smiled faintly. I can feel it. There was no mockery in her voice, just curiosity. Daniel crossed the room slowly, settling on the floor near her chair. He leaned back on his hands, close enough to feel the heat of her body through the blanket. You make me feel like I'm the alien here, he said with a small smile. Nora looked down at him, her expression unreadable. You are strange. Kind, reckless, and yet somehow, her gaze dropped to his mouth, lingered. Unsettling. Daniel's breath hitched. Unsettling. You confuse me. You're not easy to figure out either, Nora. Nora's lips parted slightly. You shouldn't sit so close. I know, Daniel said, not moving. Silence stretched between them again, thick with everything unsaid. The firelight flickered over Nora's face, casting golden shadows along her cheekbones, her throat. She looked softer now. Not less dangerous, just less determined to hide. Where I'm from, Nora said quietly, touch means something. Daniel's voice matched her tone. It does here too. I haven't touched anyone willingly in years. You haven't had to, Daniel said gently, but you're safe now. You don't owe me anything. Nora looked at him sharply, as if the idea of safety itself was foreign. Her hand slipped from beneath the blanket. She reached forward, hesitant, and her fingers brushed his. A jolt passed through them both. Not pain, not fear. Something warmer, deeper. Nora's eyes widened. Why does it feel like this? I could ask you the same thing, Daniel whispered. Her fingers didn't pull away, neither did his. Nora stood slowly, dropping the blanket. She walked past him to the window, arms crossed tightly against her chest. My body reacts to yours. It shouldn't. We're not compatible. You sure about that? Daniel asked, rising to his feet. Nora turned to face him. It's not supposed to happen. There are chemicals in me that activate only with specific markers. They're meant to respond to my kind. Not you. Daniel stepped closer. Then why are you trembling right now? She didn't answer. Her jaw was tight, but her body betrayed her. Breath shallow, pupils dilated, skin glowing faintly. Even the tips of her fingers glimmered. It's not just physical, Nora said, voice shaking. It's worse. My thoughts shift when you're near. I second-guess myself. I feel drawn? Nora flinched. Yes. Daniel stood right in front of her now. He didn't touch her, didn't press, but his presence was a weight she could feel. I won't take anything you don't give, Daniel said softly. But I need you to stop running from yourself. Nora closed her eyes. I was made to be owned, used, broken. I fought to keep my mind, to stay me. And you've succeeded, Daniel murmured. But maybe now you can choose who gets to see you. Her eyes fluttered open, silver and molten. Would you want that? All of me? Daniel didn't blink. Yes. The word hung there, suspended. Nora stepped into him, not with aggression, but with intent. Her forehead touched his chest, her hands resting lightly at his sides. She inhaled deeply, breathing him in. I don't want to belong to anyone, she whispered. But for one moment, I want to pretend I belong to you. Daniel wrapped his arms around her, slowly. Then pretend. Just for tonight. She melted into him, the fire painting their shadows onto the cabin walls. In that quiet corner of a wild planet, something raw and tender bloomed. Fragile, forbidden, but real. Neither of them said another word. because in that moment, words would have ruined it. Morning light spilled through the cracked blinds, soft and golden. Daniel stirred on the old couch, blinking against the warm glow. He turned his head and saw Nora sitting cross-legged by the window, hair loose, eyes fixed on the forest beyond. Her back was straight, still and poised, but something about her seemed quieter today. "You didn't sleep," Daniel murmured, voice hoarse from dreams he wasn't ready to admit. "I don't sleep deeply," Nora replied without turning. "Too many instincts." Daniel sat up slowly, watching her. Instincts like what? Fight, escape, mistrust. Nora glanced back at him. "You're an interruption to all of them," Daniel offered a slow smile. "I'm honored." Nora's eyes narrowed, but there was no real bite behind it. "You joke like that to make me lower my guard. Is it working?" "Maybe." Daniel stood, padded over to the small counter, poured 2 mugs of something that passed for coffee. He handed one to Nora. She took it carefully, fingers brushing his, slight but intentional. Her touch lingered, just enough to spark the embers again. "I don't understand this thing between us," Nora said finally. "It's not logic, it's not biology anymore. It feels like gravity." Daniel leaned against the wall, sipping his drink. "Maybe it's something else, something rarer." Nora tilted her head. "Like what?" "Choice." She laughed softly. "You think I've chosen this?" "I think you're choosing not to run." Nora's expression flickered, and for a moment the mask dropped. She looked fragile in the light. Not weak, just exposed. "Where I'm from," she said quietly, "belonging is forced. We're paired, bonded, claimed. You can't say no." Daniel moved closer. "You're not there anymore." "I know, but the damage remains." Nora's voice trembled at the edge. "Sometimes I wonder if I even know what I want, or if I just react." Daniel's hand lifted, pausing just short of her cheek. "So what do you feel when I do this?" Let his knuckles graze the curve of her jaw, lightly, reverently. Nora's breath hitched. Her eyes fluttered shut. "Warm," she whispered. "Grounded, angry, needy. That's a lot at once." "I contain multitudes," she said with a shaky smile. Daniel chuckled, but it faded quickly. "I'll never ask for more than you want to give. But I need to say something, Nora." She opened her eyes slowly, meeting his gaze. "I don't want to own you," Daniel said, "but I want all of you. The defiance, the fire, the broken pieces. The parts you hide from the stars." Nora swallowed hard. "You make me feel too much." "Is that a bad thing?" "It is when you've spent your life shutting everything down just to survive." Daniel stepped closer. "Then let it hurt. Let it heal. Let it be. I'll stay right here." Nora's mug slipped from her hands, clattering onto the floor, forgotten. She surged forward, grabbing his shirt, pulling him into her. Their foreheads touched, breath mingling. "I don't want to be soft," she whispered. "Then be sharp. I'll bleed for you." A tremor rippled through Nora. She leaned into him fully, arms sliding around his neck, holding tightly, desperately. "You can't say things like that," she murmured. "I might start to believe you." Maybe that's the point. Silence. Fell again, but this time it was heavy with intimacy. Her hands splayed across his chest, feeling his heartbeat like it was a tether. Daniel wrapped his arms around her waist, anchoring her without possession. She buried her face against his neck. "I want to feel yours. All of it. But I don't know how to ask." "You don't need words," he whispered, holding her tighter. "Just stay." Nora exhaled, shaky and raw. "I've never stayed before." "Then let this be the first time." They stood there for a long time, entangled in something deeper than bodies, something that reached across stars and scars and species. Eventually, Nora pulled back, but not far. Her fingers traced his collarbone. "You're dangerous, Daniel. So are you. I could destroy you if I wanted to. I know, but I don't want to anymore." Daniel's voice was soft. "Then don't. Want me instead." Nora leaned in, lips brushing his cheek, just shy of his mouth. "No one owns me. I'd never try." But he waited, breath held. "I want you to try." The kiss that followed wasn't rushed. It wasn't tame either. It was the kind of kiss that started slow but burned deep, made from longing and pain and hope too long denied. And when it broke, when they stood there breathless and new, Nora whispered, "I think I'm ready to stop pretending." Daniel smiled, resting his forehead against hers. "Then let's be real." Outside, the forest stirred. The wind shifted. And for the first time, Nora didn't flinch at the sound. Nora watched Daniel move through the cabin, shirt rumpled, hair a mess from where her fingers had threaded through it the night before. There was something painfully human about the way he poured his coffee. Careless, distracted, humming a half-tune under his breath like he wasn't breaking every law of her kind by being so warm. He didn't look at her like a prize. He didn't act like a man who had conquered a creature from beyond his world. He just looked at her, like she mattered. Nora leaned against the wooden post by the stairs, arms folded, pretending her body didn't ache from the slow, lingering touches they had exchanged hours earlier. The heat still lingered under her skin, crawling over her ribs like sparks with nowhere to land. "You didn't run," Daniel said softly, setting the mug down. "That's something." "You didn't ask me to stay," Nora replied. "I didn't need to." That earned him a crooked smile. Nora stepped forward, tilting her head. "You're cocky this morning," Daniel shrugged. "You kissed me first." Nora's breath caught in her throat. "Don't remind me." "Why not? It was kind of perfect." She rolled her eyes and crossed the room, standing in front of him. Close. Not touching. But the energy between them crackled. "Where I come from, we don't kiss. We claim." Her voice dropped lower. "It's more brutal than what we did." Daniel tilted his head. "Then what we did must have been revolutionary." Nora studied him, her expression unreadable. "You keep making me feel like a revolution." "Maybe that's because you are one." He reached out, brushing a strand of her hair back. The movement was gentle, too gentle for someone like her, and yet it made her knees threaten to fold. "I'm not soft, Daniel," she warned. "You're not supposed to be," he murmured. "But you don't have to be sharp with me either." "You say that like I have a choice." Daniel cupped her cheek now, thumb grazing the edge of her jaw. "You do. That's what I've been trying to show you." Nora closed her eyes, letting her body sway forward instinctively. "Every instinct I have tells me to run, to fight, to shut this down before it becomes something I can't survive." Daniel's voice dropped lower, rough with emotion. "And what does your heart say?" She opened her eyes. "It says I'm already ruined for anything else." Daniel didn't respond with words. He didn't need to. His hands slid around her. "Waist!" And he pulled her close until their bodies aligned, her chest to his, her breath against his neck. "I was never meant to belong to anyone," she whispered. "Not by choice, not by fate." Daniel's lips brushed her temple. "Then let this be the first time you want to belong." Nora's grip tightened around his shirt. "Why do you make me feel safe in ways that terrify me?" "Because I see you, the real you, and I'm not scared of her." "You should be," she whispered. "She's dangerous." "Then let her be dangerous," Daniel said, meeting her gaze with quiet fire. "But let her be mine while she burns." The silence that followed wasn't empty. It was full, of promises unspoken, of need restrained. Nora's breath hitched. Again, but this time she didn't pull away. She leaned in, pressing her lips to his, in a kiss that wasn't soft, wasn't slow. It was hungry, raw, real. Like she'd been starving for something she never knew existed. His hands gripped her hips, steadying her as she melted into him. Her claws, which had once drawn blood, curled harmlessly at his back, desperate for closeness. She was no longer defending herself. She was surrendering, but not like a prisoner, like a warrior, choosing where to lay down her weapons. When they finally pulled apart, gasping, foreheads pressed together, Nora spoke first. "I don't think I can go back to who I was." Daniel's fingers caressed her lower back. "Good. I like who you're becoming." "I'm not soft," she repeated. "No," he smiled. "You're fire. And fire burns. Then burn me." Nora's lips curled slowly into a smile. "Careful what you wish for." Daniel laughed, and for the first time, so did Nora, genuine and bright. The sound surprised even her. He looked at her like she was a miracle. Maybe, for both of them, she was. And just as she leaned into his touch again, the comm device on the wall blinked. A red flash, a warning. They both turned. Daniel frowned. Nora's body stiffened. "What is it?" he asked. Her voice was low, dangerous again. "They found me." Daniel straightened, but his hand never left her. Nora met his gaze. "If you run, I won't stop you." Daniel's jaw clenched. "I told you already. I don't run." Nora's eyes burned with something electric, something desperate and new. "Then stay," she whispered, "and we burn together." The alert blinked red again, sharp and insistent, tearing through the fragile peace that had settled between them. Daniel's hand still rested against the curve of Nora's waist, his warmth grounding her in a world that was rapidly becoming more dangerous. Nora's breath hitched, a silent warning passing between them. "They're coming!" Daniel's gaze darkened, his fingers tightened around her. "Who?" "The ones who claim me, the ones who never let go. My people." "Then they'll have to fight me for you." His voice was steady, unwavering. A small, bitter laugh escaped Nora. "You don't understand. They don't fight for me. They take. They always take." Daniel stepped closer, forcing her to meet his eyes. "Not anymore. Not this time. They can't have you. Not like that. Not while I'm still breathing." For a long moment, Nora said nothing. She only stared at him, searching his face as if trying to find the cracks in his resolve. He couldn't possibly know what this meant for her. She couldn't let him be dragged into this war. "Daniel." She hesitated, the words feeling foreign on her tongue. "You don't know what you're asking. If you fight for me, you're fighting for your life, for everything you know." "Then I'll fight for it," Daniel said firmly, his eyes never leaving hers. "For you. I don't care what they've done to you, Nora. I care about who you are now. And you're mine, just as much as I'm yours. No one is taking that from me." Her heart beat faster, louder, and she could feel the battle raging inside her. Part of her wanted to push him away, to keep him safe from the storm that was coming. But the other part, the part that had been so starved for connection, for real tenderness, wanted nothing more than to pull him into her, to hold him, to make him stay. "I can't ask you to do this," she whispered, her voice cracking with emotion. "You don't have to ask," Daniel replied. "You're not asking me to do anything. I'm doing it because I want to. I'm doing it because I love you." The words hung between them, charged with a power that neither of them had been prepared for. Love. In the middle of war. In the chaos of alien bonds and star-fueled destinies. Daniel had just claimed her heart, and he didn't even know the cost. "I don't want to drag you into this," she said, her voice trembling. "I don't want to destroy you with me. You won't. You're not a weapon, Nora. You're not a burden." Her chest tightened, her eyes welling with unspoken pain. "I'm dangerous." Daniel cupped her face, brushing away a tear that slipped down her cheek. His thumb stroked the wet path with reverence, like he was touching something fragile, precious. "You're not dangerous to me. You're my partner, my equal." Her heart swelled, and for the first time she let herself believe it. Let herself believe that maybe they were in this together. That maybe, just maybe, love could be enough to shield them both. The soft hum of a ship's engines reverberated through the walls. The time had come. They could no longer hide from the reality that had been chasing Nora. The threat was real. But Daniel's resolve was stronger than any fear she had left. "They're already here," Nora said quietly, stepping back from him, her hand sliding out of his. "We need to move." "No," Daniel said, his grip firming around her wrist. "We face this together. Whatever happens, we don't back down." Nora's breath caught in her throat, and for the first time she didn't feel like a lone warrior. She felt like a woman, connected to someone who cared more about her than the universe's laws. She saw the determination in his eyes, the kind of fire that could withstand anything, anything. "I'm not running," she whispered. "I'm staying." "And I'm not letting you go," Daniel said, his voice a quiet promise. The sound of boots on the cabin floor made her turn. The door swung open with a low creak, revealing figures in black armor, alien soldiers, the ones who had once held the power to break her. But as they stepped inside, the sight of Nora standing beside Daniel, unbroken and fierce, caused a pause. The leader, a tall figure with alien markings across his face, eyed the human beside her. "You think you can protect her?" The alien's voice was rough, full of disdain. "She is ours. She belongs to the orcs." Daniel didn't flinch. He didn't move. He just looked at Nora, his hand slipping into hers, his grip unyielding. "No," Daniel said softly but with utter certainty. "She belongs to herself, and if you want her, you'll have to go through me." Nora squeezed his hand, feeling the steady strength of his resolve and knowing that this was the moment she had been waiting for. Not for a war, not for a fight, but for a chance to choose, and today she chose him. The tension in the air thickened, but Nora's heart had never been clearer. She wasn't a slave. She wasn't a prize to be claimed. She was his, and he was hers, and no one would ever take that from them.